Hello there, dear listener. We hope you're enjoying this lovely discussion. If you're not already aware, this show is part of a podcast network called KWAZ Radio. A Pan-African Nationalist and Garveyite network come to showcasing the rich and varied thoughts of African people. We have an exciting lineup of shows that we think you'll enjoy, including
the Victor Medicine Podcast.
I think black people acquire too much buy-in. Like, we constantly have to sell black people on things that are beneficial to black people.
The Pro-Black Perspective Podcast.
I'm fearful that our people are not really studying how to get ahead, and we're kind of, continually staying behind.
The Harsh Reality Podcast.
To me, it don't matter. I think people so dumbed down, it wouldn't matter what you reveal to them. They still are in the matrix. They're in the simulation. They're going to keep doing what they did. They lemmings. So to me, it don't matter.
The Learning Curve Podcast.
Sexual access has never given you economic empowerment. The only person who has ever been economically empowered by a sexual relationship is the wasp and his woman.
The Cathedral Cheek Show.
When we start rising up to fight for our own, I guarantee you they'll stop doing what they're doing. I guarantee you they would have let their brother go. They was waiting to see what black folks were going to do.
Brother Bakari Podcast.
Black people love to claim folks that hate them, right? They are slave masters, and they are ashamed of who they really are.
The Forecast Radio.
Like, if you pray to the same deity as, like, your enemy, and that God blesses your enemy more than you may want to reconsider who you pray to,
And Tanzan, African Mind.
Because generally, a welcoming of everyone. Sometimes, to my consternation, I think that they should be less, welcoming.
If you love our podcast network, we would be grateful if you could rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. Follow us on social media, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and check out our website at www.kwazradio.com for more information. Thank you for tuning in. And now, back to the program.
All right, peace. Make sure I'm on the right screen. Welcome to the Pro-Black Perspective. You already know. Today we're going to explore some Booker T. Washington. See, nobody's in the room right now, but this is an interesting essay. I put it up, looks like almost 10 years ago, right? June 24th, 2014. I came across this because my brother, if y'all know, the Sun at Midnight, he's a good brother. Back in the day, I used to be on Tumblr, and he was one of the best other people posting back in the day. So that was, he put up this article, and I was like, damn, I ain't never seen something like this. And that was a whole decade ago. I don't know if I actually read it before. Maybe I did. Maybe I just started reading it, and I was like, I got to read this later. Well, I got to share this information. And I don't know if I ever read it, but shout out to Matron, too. Matron is reading Up From Slavery. So, that's just another example of, how Booker T. Washington is one of those guys who try to uplift the Negro, if you will, right? Uplift African people. And this is, despite his background, or maybe because of his background. So yeah, we're just gonna read through this article. It's actually probably pretty good, and hopefully after a decade of learning, I have something to say, right? So I used to start off all my articles like this: in the service of our ancestors and African love, listen, seeker, I come in peace. So I said, a Negro has within him, shout out, So the Negro has within him immense power for self-uplifting, but for years it will be necessary to guide and stimulate him. Booker T. Washington. And, already I'm thinking about my time here in Africa. We have this immense power for self-upliftment, but we still need people to guide and stimulate us. And not just guide and stimulate us, honestly, and I think I'm going to try to hammer this home, but a large part of what we have to do as African people, I think I'm going to try to take off my glasses, but a large part of what we have to do as African people is position our capital, is acquire capital and position our capital in such a way to get more capital. Okay, that's a large part of what you have to do as an individual. Position yourself to get more capital. Okay? So look, in our canon of ancestors, so I guess back then I called this guy an ancestor, which, in our canon of ancestors, Booker T. Washington is underrated. Surely he has his weaknesses, and his strengths make up for a worthwhile inspiration, particularly in this age. Too many among us make today a day of talking, yet Booker's life was one of doing. In the following article, you'll read of where our people were and where Booker brought many. The from is little, different from today. So this is actually pretty interesting that I have so many grammatical errors back then. But anyway, brothers and sisters tout degrees without an African education. Yet where Booker took so many is rarely seen today. Brothers and sisters developing communities. One can see that Booker T. Washington wasn't that supportive of traditional African spirituality or keen on Occidentalism. Notwithstanding, this article deserves the attention of those who, like Marcus Garvey himself, need to see something positive. So the idea is this. You're going to pick up on the fact that Booker T. Washington wasn't supportive of African spirituality, right? And I mean, you might say, oh, Oni, you don't sound too supportive of African spirituality yourself. Hold on a second. And that's okay. Well, I mean, it's different, right? And then, of course, it says he wasn't keen on Occidentalism, so he might not have understood that white folk weren't, that skin folk, that, skin folk might not be kinfolk, but non-skin folk ain't kinfolk neither. But it is what it is. Anyway, but regardless, we'll see what it is. I mean, again, at this point, I'm not going to say he's an ancestor. But I am going to say, this man showed us that it was possible to do something with your life. When, at a time, a lot of people weren't convinced. Okay? Now, granted, the people he's talking about might have been, enslaved Africans, or recently enslaved Africans, recently emancipated Africans, who might have a totally different experience than most of us. But all the same, I think his message is I'm pretty sure his message is going to be profound. So let's go to it. It says, when a mere boy, I saw a young colored man who had spent several years in school, sitting in a common cabin in the South studying a French grammar. I noted the poverty, the untidiness, the want of system and thrift that existed about the cabin, notwithstanding his knowledge of French and other academic subjects. Another time, and again, so I'm just going to just talk about it, right? He's like, look, the guy's studying another language. He's studying a language that's not used in America. And he's studying academic subjects, but he's not making much of it. He's still poor. And on top of being poor, he's untidy. And not just untidy, he doesn't even he's not even good with money. And you kind of see, look, again, when you look at my book, so to those who don't know, I write a book myself, Uangalifu. We talk about in the book being thrift, having thrift. And you'll see this time and again when you see wise people of the past, what they're telling you is be parsimonious, be thrift, don't waste your money. He says the want of a system and thrift, be systematic, right? Don't just study shit for studying. And that's the thing that you see with our people. Now this black man, or I don't know if it's a black man, colored man, is studying French. Okay, now I'm not saying French might not have been useful at the time. it probably wasn't. Okay, because when Booker T. Washington was a mere boy, he was also enslaved. You know what I mean? So he said there was a free man. There was a free man, possibly a free man, who spent several years in school and said to himself, "Hey, you know what? I'm going to study French, and it's not going to do anything for my life." And this is the thing that Booker T. Washington is telling you. He's like, look, do shit for your life, okay? Okay, hold on a second. I keep getting a text. All right, so another time when riding on the outer edges of a town in the south, I heard the sound of a piano coming from a cabin of the same kind. Right, so again, somebody's masterful at the piano, and they're broke. Contriving some excuse, I entered and began a conversation with a young colored woman who was playing and who had recently returned from a boarding school, where she had been studying instrumental music, among other things. Despite that fact that her parents were living in a rented cabin, eating poorly cooked food, surrounded with poverty, and having almost none of the conveniences of life, she had persuaded them to rent a piano for $4 or $5 a month. Many such instances as these, in connection with my own struggle, impressed upon me the importance of making a study of our needs as a race and applying the remedy accordingly. So, again, playing the fucking piano, and this speaks directly to the miseducation, right? You get this education, and what do you do with it? Or what is the education good for? Is it good for taking you out of poverty? Is it good for making you tidy? Is it good for making you systematic and thrift? Is it good for you making yourself profitable? Okay? And this is the thing that Booker T. Washington was teaching, kind of, But like I said, go listen to, you could either read Up from Slavery, which is a good book, or you could go listen to Matron. She reads it for you. Revolutionary Matron reads it for you. Okay? And there's this part in the book where he's like, look, we are going to learn how to make bricks, and we're going to sell bricks to white people. And he's like, wow, white people will buy bricks from us because we make quality bricks and we sell them at a good price. And therefore, our schooling, our education becomes profitable because of what we're doing, by setting it up ourselves to sell bricks, right? And that's what because we make quality bricks. Okay. Bit of Medicine Podcast is here. He says, peace. Y'all, I was on the Bit of Medicine Podcast yesterday. It was a really good program. Really good program. I set my alarm to wake up, though. I started at 3 a.m. 3 a.m. So I was asleep, and then I got up. And it was worth it, though. It was worth it. I'm telling you guys, go check out Bit of Medicine Podcast. It's a really good program. But anyway, so, yeah, that's what it is. It's like that's how we were set up. And we got to realize that when you see this stuff where it's like, hey, we were eating poorly cooked food, living in rented cabins, surrounded with poverty, this is the condition that quote-unquote African Americans had before integration. Well, this is actually post-emancipation, but also before integration. A lot of African Americans were not well-to-do before integration. Right now, they get 70% of white people's income. 70 to 80%, I don't know. Good, and you might say, well, that's shit, oh man, we should be at 100, we should be at 110, 150. I don't know what you think. But when you think about how the white American is one of the richest populations on the planet, you're getting 70 to 80% of them, and coming from this is not bad. And this is why a lot of black Americans are not trying to leave. And I tell you, I could never get mad at ADOS. Because I one time saw this discussion that ADOS was having, okay? This brother, Pan-Africanist, was talking to this ADOS guy. And this ADOS guy was like, look at your house, to the Pan-Africanist. You're not going to Africa. Your house looks too good. You got all that space, you got all this. You're not going to Africa. Okay? And I'm thinking to myself, yeah, that motherfucker's house do look good. Now, if y'all see my space in America, it's not good. Matter of fact, the space I have in Africa is better than the space I got in America. And the space I have in Africa is pretty damn good. I ain't gonna hold you, okay? But what I'm saying is that I purposely made it so, because I do this thing different. Because like I said, I'm really about that self-reliance. I do things different. I burn bridges. You see what I'm saying? I burn bridges. So when I was leaving grad school, I didn't leave like, oh, well, you know, nah, I left with a big fuck you. You know what I'm saying? Well, I didn't do that fuck you shit, but you know what I mean. Like, there was no coming back. There was no going back. I told them, matter of fact, I just wasn't stupid. They were paying me money to go to university, and I said, no, you can take the money back. Now, I shouldn't have said that. I should have said that, but I did. Anyway, point is that you got to burn bridges. So when I, because I've been living in America, I tell you, man, I live like shit. Okay, the food I eat, when I go back to America, if I do, what I'm going to do is, I'm probably going to show you guys what I eat when I'm there. Put the burger in the, what is it called? Not air fryer, the other one. Like, not pressure cooker. Put the burger in the pressure cooker. Put it on a piece of bread. Put some, you know, Chipotle sauce or some shit. Eat that. That's my fucking dinner. No fries. No, you know what I'm saying? No soda. Drink that shit with water. I'm not trying to be comfortable in America. Right now, my son probably not, you know, my son don't mind. He don't care, you know? But, you know, the only reason why I even eat 3 meals when I'm in America is because I have a son. And they're not 3 good meals. It's just, whatever. When my son goes to his mother's house, I just eat like 2 meals, 1 meal. You know what I mean? Poor shit. You know, living on $4 a day type shit. Right? Because I'm not trying to be comfortable in America. I'm not trying to be. I'm trying to get my life together in another continent because I'm really about that self-reliance. You know, so if Booker T. Washington visited me, he'd be like, oh man, this motherfucker living in poverty. Yup. So I can get wealth when I go back home. Because I don't want to be in America living good and comfortable because you're never going to leave that way. You're never going to leave. And a lot of people will tell you, hey man, look, you're not leaving. And that's why I say when that ADOS dude said, hey, you're not leaving, he had a point. You know, now I don't know if the brother left or not, but what I'm telling you is that a lot of people are not leaving. And because they're not leaving, then you probably, if you're not going to leave, you probably should get comfortable. Okay? But me, I'm leaving. That's what I said. So anyway, someone may be tempted to ask, has not the Negro boy or girl as good a right to study a French grammar and instrumental music as the white youth? I answer yes, but in the present condition of the Negro race in this country, there's need of something more. Now again, forget it. Again, in America, let the fucking people study French and instrumental music. They are useless. Not everybody, obviously, but what I'm saying is that they're not leaving. So why would you? They're not going to build some independent system. So what are you worried about them building an independent system? But now you come to Africa and you say, look, what the fuck? Get that French shit out of your face. Get that instrumental music out of your face. Because you are independent. And you got to do better. See, the African American don't have to do better. See, look. When I put it this way, man. There's 3 ways to be in life. Okay? There's independent. There's codependent. And there is dependent. Okay? Let me explain this to you. You're taught to be, all right, in the West, you're taught to be independent. Think you're independent. But you're a dependent. You study the French grammar, you master the French grammar. Okay? That's it. But you might be like, hey man, I'm independent and I can do whatever I want. Yeah, sure. But somebody's feeding you. Somebody's clothing you. Somebody's sheltering you. And it's not you. You're studying the fucking French grammar. Okay? Now, in a relationship, in a marriage, that's where you got to be codependent. Like I told you guys, man, me eating by myself. Now, I'm not really dependent on my lady, obviously. But me eating by myself, I'm going to eat like motherfucking chips. And, you know, I'm going to eat off the street or some shit. Real talk. What I say is she prepares this banquet for me. If I didn't show you guys the food today because I got phone calls about that. They were like, "Yo, stop showing off your food." I'm just messing. But Yeah, I have to. You know, she depends on me. I depend on her. That's the way to live a life. But the other way is to be a dependent. Okay, a depend. No, sorry. The other one is interdependent actually, but the other one is dependent, right? A dependent doesn't have to do shit. This is the French grammar studying motherfucker. And the reality is this: you could do anything in America, and this white boy system has you. He got you. If your child acts up, guess what? You don't got to slap your kid. He can slap your kid for you. You know what I'm saying? If the water, like for instance, right now the power went out. Oh, matter of fact, it came back. But right now the power went out. Matter of fact, I'm going to turn on this fan. Fuck that shit. I'm out of this motherfucker. But anyway, so I was sitting here with the fan off. But what I'm saying is this. The fan's out, right? I mean, the power's out. I can't call up no white boy to put on the power. You know what I'm saying? I can't call up no white boy to put up the power. I got to do it. No, I mean, I got to wait for a black man to do it. Period. You see what I'm saying? So if I am, so it's not that we are dependent on ourselves, because you can't be dependent on yourself, right? It's that you are an independent people. You see what I'm saying? So the power goes out, I gotta solve it. I mean, my people gotta solve it. That's the difference. But I'm in America. If the power goes out, and the power does not go out in New York City, I'll tell you that. But when the power goes out, I gotta call up Con Edison. Hey man, can you guys? Hey sir, so I was using the electricity. Perhaps I may be forgiven for the seeming egotism if I mention the expansion of my own life, partly as an example of what I mean. My earliest recollection is of a small one-room log hut. I read that really bad. My earliest recollection is of a small one-room log hut on a large slave plantation in Virginia. After the close of the war, while working in the coal mines of West Virginia for the support of my mother, I heard in some accidental way of the Hampton Institute. When I learned that it was an institution where a black boy could study, could have a chance to work for his board, and at the same time be taught how to work and to realize the dignity of labor, I resolved to go there. Bidding my mother goodbye, I started out one morning to find my way to Hampton, though I was almost penniless and had no definite idea where Hampton was. By walking, begging rides, and paying for a portion of the journey on the steam cars, I finally succeeded in reaching the city of Richmond, Virginia. I was without money or friends. I slept under a sidewalk, and by working on a vessel next day, I earned money to continue my way to the Institute, where I arrived with a surplus of 50 cents. And you see that? A surplus of 50 cents. Now, I don't know if 50 cents is a lot, but the other lady was renting a piano for $4 to $5. And she wasn't making money with it. I mean, we don't know if she was making money, honestly. We only know that she was playing the piano. For all we know, she could have been making good money, you know? But, Booker T. Washington was a little boy, so he didn't know. Like, he didn't know she was like a fucking celebrity or some shit. Or an entertainer, like a Beyonce or some shit. Who knows? But anyway, at Hampton... Oh, like the French guy. He could be doing something profitable. I don't know. But the whole thing about life is that you do want to find something profitable, and that's actually what's stretching my mind right now. I don't know if I told you guys. I did tell you guys. I'm not selling too many books. I can't say, hey, you know what? I'm a successful ass author. I can't. Now I am programming a video game, but my passion is literature, talking, so I and that's not enough, obviously. I don't know if I should be doing reselling or constructing things, but we'll see. So at Hampton, I found the opportunity in the way of buildings, teachers, and industries provided by the generous to get training in the classroom and by practical touch with industrial life to learn thrift, economy, and push. I was surrounded by an atmosphere of business, Christian influence, and a spirit of self-help that seemed to have awakened every faculty in me and caused me, for the first time, to realize what it meant to be a man instead of a piece of property. Now, again, remember, this guy was born into slavery. So, like people born into slavery, they have a different perception of life, like they were told they were not men. Like, they were told they were animals. And actually, there's an interesting passage by Booker T. Washington where he explains how he was talking to some an African an African back in like an enslaved African, and the enslaved African reported he asked the enslaved African, how many were you, and the guy was like, oh, there were 3 of us, my brother, myself. No, there were 4 of us, my brother, myself, and 2 mules. And Booker T. Washington was like, damn, this man counted himself among the mules. You know what I mean? So the dehumanization was real. So him saying, oh, what it meant to be a man is actually pretty significant. You know? And especially since he says instead of a piece of property, like people did view themselves as property. A lot of people did. So it's not, it's not like, oh, well, what is he talking about? That's just whatever. All right, let me see. I don't got any comments, but shout out to everybody who's here. Well, actually, let me see if I got comments. I only see one. I only see bit of meds. Yeah, that's only bit of meds. All right. So, well, there I resolved that when I had finished the course of training, I would go into the far south, into the black belt of the south, and give my life to providing the same kind of opportunity for self-reliance and self-awakening that I had found provided for me at Hampton. My work began at Tuskegee, Alabama in 1881 in a small shanty and church with 1 teacher and 30 students without $1 worth of property. The spirit of work and an industrial thrift with aid from the state and generosity from the North has enabled us to develop an institution of 800 students gathered from 19 states with 79 instructors, 1,400 acres of land, and 30 buildings, including large and small, and all property valued at $280,000. 25 industries have been organized, and the whole work is carried on at an annual cost of about $80,000 in cash. 2/5 of the annual expense so far has gone into permanent plant. So if I'm struggling to read, it's because I don't have my glasses, and I'm actually blind. Like, I'm legally blind. Like I can't drive. But this is some big ass money. I don't want to tell you guys. I don't want to look it up, but $280,000 in 1881 is like basically millions at least, right? For a guy who started off with nothing, without $1 of worth to his name, basically started off at, let's say, $10, and he ended with $2 million. Let's just pretend it's a 1 to 10 ratio. It's probably not that high, but let's just pretend. He starts off with $10 and ends up with $2.8 million. That's what it looks like, okay? Or even you'll just do the math regularly. He starts with $1 and he makes $280,000, and it's not just that. It's the fact that he's able to organize 25 different industries, and this is the thing that it's actually pretty interesting because somebody actually invited me to do some speaking engagements, do some teaching engagements, and I just don't want to teach before I have some sort of success to teach on. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that I'm not successful, but you know what I mean? Like, I have a good life, but as far as turning $1 to $280,000, I haven't done that yet. Okay, I haven't done that yet. There are people who did that, and I don't want to be, one of those, those who can't teach. You know what I mean? And of course, that you might say, well, if you were to do it, why would you teach? You know what I mean? If you were to do it, why would you teach? So that's a good point. But it is what it is. So what is the object of all this outlay? First, must be borne in mind that we have in the South a peculiar and unprecedented state of things. It is of the utmost importance that our energy be given to meeting conditions that exist right about us rather than conditions that existed centuries ago or that exist in countries 1,000 miles away. One of the cardinal needs among the colored people in the South, most of whom are to be found on the plantations. Roughly, these needs may be stated as food, clothing, shelter, I said that weird, clothing, shelter, education, proper habits, and a settlement of race relations. Now, I do want to point out why I said clothing like that. Okay, so one of the weirdest things here in Tanzania is that people say clothes like clothes. So because their language is so phonetic, when they see something like clothes, they see something like clothes, they say clothes. So when I said clothing, I said clothing or whatever. So it's kind of weird, but I'm just Africanizing, bros. All right. So the 7 millions of colored people of the South cannot be reached directly by any missionary agency, but they can be reached by sending out among them strong, selected young men and women with the proper training of head, hand, and heart, who will live among them, these masses, and show them how to lift themselves up. So again, you have this is the blueprint. Okay, this is the blueprint. He's like, look, you have needs. Now look, this is not, he says, look, you got to have your needs, unique to yourself, right? What are the needs unique to you, right? He's like, what's right for you, not 1,000 miles away, and not 100 years ago, right? What are your needs now? These are universal needs that everybody has. This is not, unique to African Americans in the Black South. No, he's talking about food, clothing, and shelter, education, proper habits, and a settlement of race relations. Now, again, this is something that he should have never said. But this is why, we were having this discussion yesterday. This really good discussion. I didn't really conclude it too well, but it was a really good discussion about race, whether mixed people are Africans or biracials are Africans, and they're not. And not just that, but see, one of the things that they're going to look for, the biracials particularly, is a settlement of race relations. Because, why wouldn't you want that if you are the result of interracial relationships? Right? But anyway, it says the 7 millions of colored people of the South cannot be reached directly by anyone. Oh, yeah. So what you want to do is you want to develop people to send them out and develop people. And this is what missionaries did. This is what the Christian missionaries did. Anyway, so he says, the problem that the Tuskegee Institute keeps before itself constantly is how to prepare these leaders from the outset. And again, it's all about preparing leaders. It's always about preparing leaders. What you want to do, again, is you want to be a leader and you want to prepare leaders. Okay? And being a leader means putting your capital where your fucking mouth is. Putting your capital into action. How do you become a leader? You get capital and then you become a leader. Okay? You buy your leadership. This is what everybody does. Now we say no, you shouldn't buy your leadership. You should be awarded by your charisma. And, okay, in a video game, you know what I mean. In a video game, you could do that in a short story. But the reality is this: if I want you to do X, Y, Z, or I'll tell you this way, because you work for this white boy. I'll put it this way: white boy tells you to. He says, "Hey man, I want you to stay up all day and." I want you to do this between the hours of, from 9 o'clock to 5 o'clock. The white boy tells you what to do. That's what I'm trying to say. I'll put it that way. From 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., the white boy tells you what to do. In America. Now, obviously, in Africa, he don't tell you what to do because he's not there. You know what I'm saying? But in America, he tells you what to do. So he becomes the leader off of that principle alone. He says from 9 to 5, you listen to me. And if you don't listen to me, then you're going to have to go find some other white boy to listen to. And I'm going to tell him that you don't listen. So you're going to have a hard time. So make yourself easy and listen to me. So what you have to do is you have to take what he gives you, practice a little thrift on it, and then you become the guy from 9 to 5 to tell some black man what to do. That's it. And I mean, from 5 to 9, he might not listen to a damn thing you say. Okay? From 5 to 9, he might listen to a damn thing you say. He's like, "Oh, sorry, I'm a house with my woman. I'm sleeping." But from 9 to 5, he's your guy. That's what you have to do. And if you take your position seriously, that's what the white boy does. Take your position seriously. And you tell him from 5 to 9, he might do some shit for you that you never told him to do, and you're not even paying him to do. Okay, I'll put it that way. So from the outset, in connection with religious, because your white boys don't tell you to go to fucking church, but you going for him anyway. You're going for him. It ain't going for you. But the outset, in connection with religious and academic training, as I said it has emphasized industrial or hand training as a means of finding the way out of present conditions. First, we have found that industrial teaching useful in giving the student a chance to work out a portion of his expense while in school. Second, the school furnishes labor that has an economic value and at the same time gives the student a chance to acquire knowledge and a skill while performing the labor. Most of all, we find the industrial system valuable in teaching economy, thrift, and the dignity of labor, and in giving moral backbone to students. The fact that a student goes out into the world conscious of his power to build a house or a wagon or to make a harness gives him a certain confidence and moral independence that he could not possess without such training. Now again, these are some useful things. Like I said, I have this house. Black men put in the work to get my house in the condition it's at right now. And there's a lot that goes into a house, as including the draining system, including the piping system, including this, that, so on and so forth. And even right now, I don't know what happened. Oh, maybe something happened to somebody knocked the pipes in my house or some shit. I need somebody to repair it. And I'm not gonna do it. You know what I'm saying? Not saying I can't. It's just, you know, it's you know, it has to do with fecal matter and shit. So I'm not, you know, fecal matter and shit, literally. So I don't want to do it. But yeah, you get to pay somebody to do that shit. Literally. Anyway, to handle that shit. That's what I just said. Anyway, a more detailed example of our methods at Tuskegee may be of interest. For example, we cultivate by student labor 650 acres of land. The object is not only to cultivate, and that's a lot of land, not only to cultivate the land in a way to make it pay our boarding department, but at the same time to teach the students, in addition to the practical works, something of the chemistry of the soil, the best methods of drainage, dairying, the cultivation of fruit, the care of livestock and tools, and scores of other lessons needed by a people whose main dependence is on agriculture. Notwithstanding that 85% of the colored people in the South live by agriculture in some form, aside from what has been done by Hampton, Tuskegee, and one of two other institutions, practically nothing has been attempted in the direction of teaching them about the very industry from which the masses of our people must get their sustenance. So again, you see this? You got to realize that for a while, Black America was like a third world African country. Sometimes when you come to third world African countries, right, you're pretty much like you travel back in time. Okay? And you pretty much can see where segregated Black Americans were. You know? In America, you see integrated Black Americans. They're comfortable. They're not agriculture. They're fucking urban. Right? They don't grow their own food. They just wait for the white man to do it. Right? But in Africa, you know, I'm not saying you see a bunch of agricultural people because, you know, I'm in the city as well. When I was, you know, in the smaller cities, you do see large farms. Like I showed you guys the banana farms. They're beautiful. But obviously people were working on banana farms. But yeah, like this is just interesting historical relic because people will have you convinced, oh yeah, you know, Black Americans, blah, 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 blah. It's like, no, that's not how the world is. But anyway, friends have recently provided means for the erection of a large new chapel at Tuskegee. Our students have made the bricks for this chapel. A large part of the timber is sawed by students at our own sawmill. The plans are drawn by our teachers of architecture and mechanical drawing, and students do the brick masonry, plastering, painting, carpentry work, tinning, slatting, and make most of the furniture. Practically the whole chapel will be built and furnished by student labor. In the end, the school will have the building for permanent use, and the students will have a knowledge of the trades employed in its construction. In this way, all but 3 of the 30 buildings on the grounds have been erected. While the young men do the kinds of work I have mentioned, the young women do, to a large extent, make, mend, and launder the clothing of the young men, and thus are taught important industries. So again, you had the gender division too. You had the men doing the heavy shit, and the women doing the light work. And this is again, I put this in my book, Uangalifu. Just check it out. But like you know, it's not my invention either. It was a reading of Chancellor Williams and Cheikh Anta Diop. They both said, hey, look, in traditional Africa, men did the work that had risk, and women did the work that didn't. Okay? So like today, I wanted to go check on my roof. I climbed up a fucking ladder and went on the roof and, looked around, right? My lady, I'm not telling my lady to go climb up the damn ladder. This is a rickety-ass ladder, too. I'm not telling my lady to climb up the ladder. I do that shit. I do the work that requires risk. This is why, I want you guys to understand that. But I don't want to take up too much time because, there's no conversation, so, I'll just be talking to myself. But say, one of the objections sometimes urged against industrial education for the Negro is that it is merely to teach him to work on the same plan that he is made to follow when in slavery. And again, it's not false. Because again, you are not going to build an independent city. You're going to find, you could have some sort of, again, unfortunately, yeah, when you're in America, you're going to be a damn servant. And the thing is this, you're going to, you could possibly be a servant anywhere you go. And again, there's nothing wrong with being a servant. It's the reality that you're being a servant to white people. That's where being a servant is bad. I can tell you guys, one of my favorite books, my mother actually liked it too, there's this book called East of Eden. Now, sorry, I shouldn't say it's one of my favorite books. What I mean is, one of the books that I read back in high school, the white man forced me to read, that I thought was decent, was East of Eden. I think it's kind of low-key biblical. It's on the guy, John Steinbeck wrote it, right? And one of the things about it is there's this wicked woman and there's the brothers disagreeing. I don't remember it fully, like Cain and Abel type style. But anyway, here's the thing. In the story, I think he's an Asian guy, but he's this guy who just says he's a servant. He's like he's this intellectual, and he's a servant. And they're like, if you're so smart, why are you a servant? He's like, this is the easy damn life. All I gotta do is cook breakfast and shit. And I gotta do is cook breakfast for this motherfucker, and then I can read my books whenever I fucking please. And I'm like, damn, it's not that bad. It's only bad if you're serving somebody who hates your fucking guts. And of course, you might tell me, and here's the thing, a lot of black folk are gonna tell you the white man don't hate you, and that's fine. You could believe that, and it's okay to not. Look, I don't know if he hates you or not. Honestly, I can't say. If he hates you personally. I don't know these motherfuckers. So again, when I say that, I'm trying to tell you that the reason why I'm repeating this is to tell you this: a lot of black folk are not going to fight these white folk because they got no reason to fight these white folk. Now you think they have a reason to fight these white folk. Okay, or what happens is that we in the Pan-African circles are like, hey man, this white boy, he hates you. Oh, man, this white boy is destroying you. Blah blah blah. But when you look at it from the other person's shoes, you say to yourself, what kind of life would they have without white folk? Like I'll give you an example. Sexy Red. I never listened to this woman. I finally listened to her, I think it was yesterday or 2 days ago. And I was like, wait a second. Okay? When I wrote a rap, people was shitting on me. Like, oh man, your rap is so bad. You can't no bars. This woman has no bars. Like, no bars. It's ridiculous. Like I had some punchlines. You know what I mean? I was on beat. She's not even on beat. Like, she has no bars. Okay? But she's getting that bread. So, all of a sudden, you got to say to yourself, where would she be without white folk? Because see, black people, real talk, black people be like, look, man, lady, you ain't got no damn bars. You can't be no motherfucking, you can't rap. You know what I mean? Like I'm telling you, man, black folk told me I don't got no bars. And I'm like, a poet. This woman has no bars. I don't know, man. Like, if y'all want some proof or some shit, I could probably look it up. But this woman has no bars. It is scary how no bars she got. Like the bar deficit is scary. I'm gonna see if I can find it. Like, she has a song where she's like, oh, there's that song like, right? Or like, taking my way downtown, some shit like that, right? So she like mixes that song, and it's so corny, like that. She's like, ba 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 ba. I killed you. Ba 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 ba. I shot you. Like that lame. So fucking like no bars, no. But she's a multi-millionaire, and you're like, look, I don't know if I bookmarked it. I'm trying to look it up right now. She has like 0 bars. Let me see if I can find it though. I'm not trying to have y'all look through my bookmark though. Let me see. Did I not bookmark it? Yeah, I didn't bookmark it. Oh no, I think it's right here. All right, bet. So, I mean, I can't play it for obvious reasons. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna send it. I'm gonna put this in the chat. The fuck? This says bookmark ID. Yo, how do you? Let me see if I could. I'm gonna try to link you guys with this. It says embed the post. I'm not trying to embed it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put this. I mean, I know y'all ain't gonna listen to it right now, but like this song is so, and it's like a thread of her songs. So like you guys could check it out, but like it's so bad. And I mean, she like I could probably show you guys the music video, but like she got a white boy on her arm, and in her earlier song it was so bad too, but she got like a white man in the background. So like what you could probably see from her music is that, because again you got to listen to it. But like, I mean, you don't have to. But what I mean is like, when you listen to it, you're gonna be like, "Damn, this lady is corny." But, like notwithstanding the fact that she has no bars, like I said, like she's a multimillionaire. You know, so I'm not gonna play this song because obviously, but like you're gonna see, she's like walking with a white boy. You know, and she's walking through talking about killing black folk, honestly, and it's like. The song's not even good. Like, it would be different if the song was good, but the song's not good. She's walking with a white boy in her arm. And look, this one, see the white man in the back? And I mean, I don't know if he's a small hat or whatever, but he looks like it. But like, this is, like, again, you got to ask yourself, where would she be? Like, she has no bars. She has no discernible skills. She has nothing. Like, she would be poor, selling an ass or some shit. You know, so... Like, these people improved her life, her personal individual life. Now, what it took for that was whatever, but, like, she's corny. She's corny. She's really, really corny. So, like, I want to play it for you guys, but I don't. Because, obviously, you know, it's copyrighted music. But, anyway, you guys go listen to it when you can. I put the link in the description. No, it's not the description, my fault. I put the link in the chat. So you guys could hear it and be like, what the fuck? Like, this is a multimillionaire. Sorry. Anyway, so he's like, look, you could only be a servant to these white folk. And it's like, yeah, true, man. Like, because you say to yourself, well, look, if she wasn't doing music, what would she be doing? Like, if she, like, let's say she doesn't have a good attitude, right? She's, you know, like, what? She's going to be a prostitute. Like, that's it. That's it. So this is far from being the object of Tuskegee. At the head of each of the 25 industrial departments, we have an... Oh, yeah, why did I say that? Yeah, I'm just telling you that, yeah, I mean, obviously, a lot of black folk are not going to turn on you because a lot of black folk, if they didn't have these white people to hire them, they would be prostitutes. And I'm saying that because here in East Africa, yeah, a lot of black people who don't have white people to hire them, right, don't have black people to hire them, a lot of them turn to fucking prostitution. A lot of the, like, I tell you, one night I was driving around. No, I wasn't driving around, but I was being driven around, and we drove by this place, and you just see endless, no, not endless, but you just see like a whole area of just prostitutes. And I mean, the same when I went to Jamaica, in fact. I went to Jamaica, and I was going from Kingston to Mandeville, right? And we were driving, and my driver was like, hey, man, here's where you could pick up a prostitute. And it was just lines of women. And again, I'll put it this way. I was, I wasn't interested in buying prostitutes, you know, at that point in time. He was just telling me, because he just assumed that I was. Not he assumed that I was, but, you know, he was just kind of like, he was like, you know, brotherly. I guess that's what people his age do, right? Minimalism said corny. Yeah, it's just fucking. It was so corny. But like, there's this scene. I'm gonna see if I can find it. It's actually in the autobiography. The Malcolm X movie, where Malcolm X is walking through the city. Because I think I retweeted it. But Malcolm X is walking through the city, and there are tons of women who are trying to offer their bodies to him, right? Like lines of women who are trying to offer their bodies to him. And let me see if I can find it. But like a lot of people are gonna like we underestimate it. And again, I didn't even know it was such a big deal until I came to East Africa, and then it just kind of like all clicked. Because like I said, I saw it when I went to Jamaica, but I was like, oh, it's like nobody's really doing prostitution. You know what I mean? Like prostitutes are not a thing. And I mean, I heard about it when I was in America too, where this lady was like, yeah, if you go to this certain area in Brownsville, you're gonna see a bunch of prostitutes under a bridge. And I was like, yeah, I never went to the bridge. You know what I mean? Like I never, you know what I mean? I never did it. But like when you finally come to East Africa, and you know, it like dawns on you. Okay, like if you don't have a good economy, you're screwed. Like you're screwed. Like your women literally screwed. But anyway, so let's keep going. So this is far from being the object at Tuskegee. At the head of, and look, put a message just said, like what kind of bar? Like she has no bars, right? Like I'm telling you, man, because people were clowning me. They were like, yo, man, shut the fuck up. You can't rap. Bruh, I got better bars than her. Like no cap. You know what I mean? Like, no cap. That, like, don't, like, come on. Like, she has, like, elementary school bars. Like, elementary level bars. It's crazy. This is all for being the object at Tuskegee. At the head of each of the 25 industrial departments, we have an intelligent and competent instructor, just as we have in our history classes, so that the student is taught not only practical brick masonry, for example, but also the underlying principles of that industry, the mathematics, and the mechanical and architectural drawings. Or he is taught how to become master of the forces of nature, so that instead of cultivating corn in the old way, he can use a corn cultivator that lays off the furrows, drops the corn into them, and covers it. And in that way, he can do more work than 3 men by the old process of corn planting. At the same time, much of the toil is eliminated and labor is dignified. Now again, what he's talking about is capital. What he's talking about is getting big machines to do the work for you. That costs money, or you gotta be freaking smart to make them, right? In a word, the constant aim is to show the students how to put brains into every process of labor, how to bring his knowledge of mathematics and the science into farming, carpentry, forging, foundry work, how to dispense as soon as possible with the old form of antebellum labor. In the erection of the chapel just referred to, instead of letting the money which was given us go into outside hands, we make it accomplish 3 objects. First, it provides the chapel. Second, it gives the students a chance to get a practical knowledge of the trades connected with building. And third, it enables them to earn something toward the payment of board while receiving academic and industrial training. So having been fortified at Tuskegee by education of mind, skill of hand, Christian character, ideas of thrift, economy, and push, and a spirit of independence, the student is sent out to become a center of influence and light in showing the masses of our people in the black belt of the South how to lift themselves up. So you notice he says our people when he's talking about black people, so that's pretty cool. But like you see, and again, this is different from you know like Brother Bakari would tell us. What's that guy's name? I don't remember his name, but the Claude Anderson, where he doesn't say our people, he says your people. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, or the blacks, you know what I mean? But anyway, so how can this be done? And it's again, but this is the whole thing. You gotta go out and be a center of influence. This is why, studying the French language is kind of stupid, but studying the Swahili language is kind of stupid too, unless you're going to a Swahili nation. And of course, I messed up and don't study the Swahili, because it's so hard for me to study languages. I'm not gonna hold you. It's just, can you guys hear me? Reconnection successful. Let's say I got disconnected, but I think you guys can hear me. Wait, let me just double check. Yeah, we're good. Well, I can't tell. All right, but anyway, so let's just keep reading. So, having been fortified at Tuskegee by education, blah, 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 I give but one, how can this be done? I give but 1 or 2 examples. 10 years ago, a young colored man came to the Institute from one of the large plantation districts. He studied in the classroom a portion of the time and received a practical and theoretical training on the farm the remainder of the time. Having finished his courses at Tuskegee, he returned to his plantation home, which was in a county where the colored people outnumber the whites 6-1, as is true of many of the counties in the Black Belt of the South. He found the Negroes in debt. Ever since the war, they had been mortgaging their crops for the food on which to live while the crops were growing. The majority of them were living from hand to mouth on rented land in small, one-room log cabins and attempting to pay a rate of interest on their advances that ranged from 15 to 40% per annum. The school had been taught in a wreck of a log cabin with no apparatus and I don't know, he just kind of mentions the school. The school had been taught in a wreck of a log cabin with no apparatus and had never been in session longer than 3 months out of 12. Oh, he's talking about the school there. With as many as 8 or 10 persons of all ages and conditions and of both sexes huddled together in one cabin year after year, with a minister whose only aim was to work upon the emotions of the people, one can imagine something of the moral and religious state of the community. So he's like, look, they went to school for like 3 months. They were all in debt. And this is, again, when black Americans brag about, oh man, we're the best, blah, 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 it's like, shut the fuck up. That's not how the world works. It's just not how the world works. Okay? Like realistically, this white boy, if he wanted to destroy you, he destroyed you already. You know? Living in rented hand to mouth, that sucks. And again, this is not to say that, it's not unique to black Americans. Again, this is something that you could probably see in Africa today. Maybe not this bad, but you can probably see it today, something like this. I don't know. Because again, I don't really know how people are living. All the people I've met are living better than this, but there are probably some people not living better than this. But I don't know. I really don't know. But it says, but the remedy, in spite of the evil, the Negro got the habit of work from slavery. But the remedy, in spite of the evil, the Negro got the habit of work from slavery. The rank and file of the race, especially those of the southern plantations, work hard. But the trouble is, what they earn gets away from them in high rents, crop mortgages, whiskey, snuff. So I don't know if snuff, I think that might be marijuana, honestly. Cheap jewelry, we talked about this, and the like. The young man just referred to had been trained at... And again, this is the thing you got to pick up on. These are the luxuries that we're talking about. These are the luxuries that we're talking about, that when you take this out of your life, and this is not me saying, this is Booker T. Washington telling you. He's like, look, take the whiskey out, take the snuff out, take the cheap jewelry out, and you're actually going to be fucking good. You pay your damn mortgage, and you'll be damn good. Pay your mortgage, get a lower rent, you'll be fucking good. And shout out to my brother Tyler Solomon. He's gonna tell you, don't trust anybody who fucking drinks. Now I'm not saying don't have a drink every once in a while. I mean you shouldn't, but I mean I haven't had a drink in a while, but a drink. I had a drink in a while, but I think I'm gonna have a drink soon. So I'm not gonna say don't trust nobody who drinks, but like don't trust nobody who fucking drinks. You know what I'm saying? I just said I'm not gonna say that. That's why I said it. But like, don't forget it. Fuck it. I mean, especially if they drink. Or how you put it? Like, I don't know. But especially if they drink. Okay. Obviously, if you drink like a little whatever. But again, it's a big waste of money. That's why I didn't include this passage in the Uangalifu. But there's this passage in Adam Smith where he's like, look, man. Like, religious people are religious like that because they're poor. Where they like, oh, I don't want to do sex, I don't want to do drinks, I don't want to do... They do that because they can't afford it. But the rich people who can afford it, they're a little bit more liberal. He's like, basically you're conservative because you're poor. And it's not, he's not talking about black folk, he's talking about white folk, in England. He's like, look, the conservatives were the poor people and the rich people were the liberals. Okay? Because they could afford to be liberal. All right, they could afford to drink whiskey. Like if you could afford to drink, and it's not like, and you got your shit together. It's not as bad as if you can't afford to drink and then you don't got your shit together and you're drinking. But he says the young man just referred to had been trained in Tuskegee, as most of our graduates are, to meet just this condition of things. He took the 3 months public school as a nucleus for his work. Then he organized the other people in a club, a conference, that held meetings every week. Again, meetings every week. In these meetings, he taught the people in a plain, simple manner how to save their money, how to farm in a better way, how to sacrifice, to live on bread and potatoes if need be, so they could get out of debt and begin to buy the buying of lands. So he's like, look, you could buy land. You're getting enough money from this white boy for your luxuries and your needs. You cut out your luxuries and you'll have a surplus. With your surplus, you can then convert to capital. This is the way of the fucking world. And again, he's saying this to a bunch of people who were fucking enslaved. You weren't enslaved. You are 10 generations away from that. I don't want to say 10 generations. Some of y'all just like 2 generations, 1 generation. But 10 generations, like, let's just say 10 generations, pretend. 10 generations from that. You could convert your surplus, but you got to stop drinking. You got to stop smoking. You got to stop fucking women for cheap. You got to stop having cheap jewelry. You do that, you're good. Eat bread and potatoes. Like I told y'all, what did I eat? I ate a burger, man. Tell you, man, I don't want to say this because it's like, one, I don't want y'all feeling sorry for me. Of course, if you feel sorry for me, you can hit up the Cash App. I just remembered, right? But anyway, nah, don't do that. It sucks. But what I mean, like, that just sucks to be hit up the Cash App because you feel sorry for a person. But I don't want y'all to feel sorry for me. I don't want to make y'all think I'm begging, because I'm not. What I'm telling you is this. I don't like telling this because it's kind of embarrassing. It's not embarrassing because I do it on purpose. But look, I would eat motherfucking canned sardines, like the $2 cans. You know what I'm saying? I'd eat that shit with rice. Now, granted, I mean, I kind of grew up on that. You know, I grew up, but, you know, my mother did make that a couple of times, right? But it's like, that's all right by me. I don't need to get... See, some of y'all, like, when I was married, my son's mother would be like, all right, let's get some salmon today. Let's get some shrimp today. I'm like, I don't want salmon. I don't want shrimp. That shit's too expensive. You know what I mean? I don't want that shit. It's too expensive. Now, some of y'all, I'll tell you about, I'll be in the grocery store, and I'll be behind black folk. And I don't know, I guess y'all, some of them got what they call welfare, food stamps, right? So they be eating these big ass, like, I'll tell you, man, I'll be going to the grocery store, I'll be like, you know, for the week, I'll be like, all right, here's my $50. You know, like, damn, I spent $50, right? And then black folk in front of me, they be like, all right, here's my $250, here's the welfare ticket. I'm like, shit. I want to sign up for that shit, man. I don't, but I want to. My point is, though, but again, like, if you have that kind of life where you could get $250 of groceries for free, you know? Shit. Why the fuck would you go to America? Because you go to Africa, you ain't getting no $250 of groceries for free. You stupid? You gotta be a fucking idiot to even think that. This white, I don't know what kind of relationship you got with this white boy, but this white boy has your back somehow. That's why, again, you're not going to find black folk fighting these white men. It don't make no damn sense to be pushing them to fight this white man in his land, because this white man, for a lot of them, he's doing them a favor. A lot of black folk would be prostitutes without him. A lot of black folk would be hungry without him. If you got rid of welfare, if you got rid of food stamps, a lot of black folk looking at you funny. Now, again, I'm not saying that white folk not looking at you like, oh my gosh, why you get rid of that? But that's their own people. You understand? You're not getting no welfare or food stamps anywhere else on the planet. You're not getting it in China. You're not getting it in Russia. You're not getting it in Tanzania. You're not getting it in Nigeria. You only get it in America. So these motherfuckers are not leaving America for you. You trying to get them to, oh man, why don't we fight this white boy? Like, fight him for what? What do you have that's better? Like, you gotta offer people something better. How do they say? St. Augustine said it. He said, you can have peace without war, but you can't have war without some kind of peace. You can't fight somebody without some sort of idea of what the end result of the fighting is. You know what I mean? How many times you wanted to fight somebody and you said, oh, wait a second, if I fight this person, I'm going to end up in prison? Or how many times you wanted to fight somebody or kill somebody, I'd say, and you were like, oh, no, you know, if I kill somebody, they might kill somebody that I know. Like, I kill somebody they know, they might kill somebody I know. Or they might kill me. And that stopped you. Like, consequences. Consequences, not just there's consequences, but there's also outcomes. What's the outcome of what you're doing? If you stop and think about it, you say to yourself, man, I want to fight this white boy in his own land. Okay, well, what's going to happen to you? What's going to happen to you? And I'm not saying I agree with that mentality. Because, again, me personally, I left America. Because I understand, look, these motherfuckers ain't going to fight him. They shouldn't fight me before they fight him. I understand. But I'm trying to tell you, you know? Bit of medicine said coke. I'm guessing that's snuff. Shit. Soon a large proportion of the people were in... Damn, they were doing coke back in the day? You know, my brother... What's his name? Oh, Great House. He pointed out that some motherfucker... They apparently they abolished coke because this one black man was just unhandleable. You know, like black people were just unmanageable. Like, they wouldn't listen to instructions and they fight like motherfuckers when they was on coke. Anyway, soon a larger portion of the people were in conditions to make contracts for the buying of homes. Land is very cheap in the South. And to live without mortgaging their crops. Not only this, under the guidance and leadership of this teacher, the first year that he was among them, they learned how, by contributions in money and labor, to build a neat, comfortable schoolhouse that replaced the wreck of a log cabin formerly used. The following year, the weekly meetings were continued, and 2 months were added to the original 3 months of school. The next year, 2 more months were added. The improvement has gone on until now. These people have every year an 8-month school. So now the kids... So again, you go into a community... That's what I was talking about earlier. You could be a local leader. You could go into your community and you could develop a school. Just like that. You could teach the adults, do adult education and children education. And then you could fix your community up and you could get the people in your community owning the houses they're in, practicing thrift, getting cheap land somehow. You know? You could do this. Booker did. I wish my readers could have the chance that I had of going into this community. I wish they could look into the faces of the people and see them beaming with hope and delight. I wish they could see the 2 or 3 room cottages that have taken the place of the usual 1-room cabin, the well-cultivated farms, and the religious life of the people that now means something more than the name. The teacher has a good cottage and a well-kept farm that serves as models. In a word, a complete revolution had been wrought in the industrial, educational, and religious life of the whole community by reason of the fact that they had this leader, this guiding object lesson to show them how to take the money and effort that had hitherto been scattered to the wind in mortgages and high rents, in whiskey and gewgaws, and concentrate them in the direction of their own uplifting. One community on its feet presents an object lesson for the adjoining communities, and soon improvements show themselves in other places. Like Booker T. Washington really did help African Americans. He really did. And he was such an inspiration that I told you. Marcus Garvey said, look, let me go meet this brother. I shouldn't have said brother, but you guys get what I'm saying. You know? 'Cause I know some people are on my ass about that. They're like, yo, why you call this guy a brother? Why'd you call him a brother? Right? Oh, you're like, what the fuck did you do? Shut the fuck up. Get the fuck out of here, man. But I mean, I should have called my brother, but still, like, yo, get the fuck out of here. Stop policing me, man. You're the damn police, man. Show your badge. All right. Another student who received academic and industrial training at Tuskegee established himself 3 years ago as a blacksmith and wheelwright in the community. In addition to the influence of his successful business enterprise, he is fast making the same kind of changes in the life of the people about him that I have just recounted. It would be easy for me to fill many pages describing the influence of the Tuskegee graduates in every part of the South. We keep it constantly in mind in the minds of our students and graduates that the industrial and material conditions of the masses of our people must be improved, as well as the intellectual, before there can be any permanent change in their moral and religious life. So again, you want, pay attention to this right here. We keep it constantly in the minds that the industrial and material condition must be improved, as well as intellectual, before we can have moral and religious change. Okay? You know, he says, we find it pretty hard thing to make a good Christian of a hungry man. No matter how much our people get happy and shout in church, if they go home at night, and see, even Booker T got it, even whoever wrote this copy had an error. Is it height? All right, so if they go home at night from church hungry, They are attempting to find something before morning. This is a pinnacle of human nature and is not confined to the principle of human nature and is not confined to the Negro. Again, you gotta improve people materially. Black people just don't get it. Barbara Sizemore. We just don't get it. It's about materialism. Improve the material. That's what I said. The white boy, what do you say? 9 to 5. You know what he's doing for you? You doing whatever he says. You know what he's doing for you? Improving your material conditions. Okay? If he was not paying you, he wouldn't do it. Unless he was fucking whipping you or some shit. Like I said, I work. I don't often work for the white boy, but sometimes I do. Okay? When I do work for this white boy, like I said, I work remotely now. Right? He's paying me. He's paying me. Now, I want to have my independent wealth. Okay? I don't know how to do that. Like I said, my lady, has a restaurant that I paid for. But I don't want that. I want something I do too. You know what I mean? But it is what it is. Since the Negro has within him immense power for self-uplifting, but for years it will be necessary to guide and stimulate him. The recognition of this power led us to organize 5 years ago what is now known as the Tuskegee Negro Conference, a gathering that meets every February and is composed of about 800 representative colored men and women from all sections of the Black Belt. They come in ox cart, mule carts, buggies, on muleback and horseback. They ain't got no damn cars. On foot, by railroad, some traveling all night in order to be present. The matters considered at the conference are those that the colored peoples have it within their power to control, such as the evils of the mortgage system, the one-room cabin, buying on credit, the importance of owning a home and of putting money in the bank, how to build schoolhouses and prolong the school term, and how to improve their moral and religious condition. As a single example of the results, one delegate reported that since the conference was started 5 years ago, 11 people in his neighborhood had bought homes, 14 had gone out of debt, and numbers had stopped mortgaging their crops. Moreover, a schoolhouse had been built by the people themselves, and the school term had been extended from 3 to 6 months, and with a look of triumph he exclaimed, "We is done stopped living in the ashes." Okay. So he didn't have to sue that, He did not have to do that. But he says, we're done living in the ashes. We is done stopped living in the ashes. Maybe this is another language, right? My man, Joe. All right. Besides this Negro conference, let me see what the comments is like. Because we had a bummer cloud, I can't even do it. We can't do it. So it didn't show comments, but so besides this Negro conference, the masses of the people, we now have a gathering at the same time known as the Workers' Conference, composed of the officers and instructors in the leading colored schools of the South. After listening to the story of the conditions and needs from the people themselves, the Workers' Conference finds much food for thought and discussion. So again, this is a pretty interesting article so far. But you see, you just build and you build and you build on top of building. You start small and you build up. And Carter G. Woodson told you the same thing. Start small, build bigger. So nothing else so soon brings about the right relations between the two races in the South as the industrial progress of the Negro. So again, now this is where you might, be like, all right, dude, come on, chill, right? Friction between the races will pass away in proportion as the black man, by reason of his skill, intelligence, and character, can produce something that the white man wants or respects in the commercial world. This is another reason why at Tuskegee we push the industrial training. We find that as every year we put into a southern community colored men who can start a brickyard, a sawmill, a tin shop, or a printing house, men who produce something that makes the white man partly dependent upon the Negro. Instead of all the dependence being on the other side, a change takes place in the relations of the races. Now again, let's just say China tells you otherwise, okay? This white boy does not want a competitor. But of course, if you're useful to him, if you are mostly dependent on him, he's okay. When you start being independent from him in his own land, like that's where, you're going to get a rude awakening. And in fact, let me tell you this. Most of the lynchings, now I don't know how many, I don't think there were that many lynchings, honestly. But I think there were a significant number, like maybe 2,000. But that's not like a huge number. But regardless, what I want to say about the lynchings is this. A lot of them were economical. So you had these black people who were independent or pushing on independence. And these white boys said, you know what, shut the fuck up, and hung them. Okay? That's just the reality of the world. So so again, now I'm not saying every white person's going to, because you have a brickyard, a white man's going to go hang you. No, of course not. Right? Or you have a sawmill, a white man's going to, no. But it depends on like, well, look, if you start, I'm not even going to sell you no bricks. Okay, well, fuck you. I'm just going to take the bricks. Like, I don't know if you thought you had rights in this country, but you don't. And you never will. But anyway. So I just wanted to clarify that. Because, again, like I said, he's Booker T. Washington, All right. So let's go on for a few more years knitting our business and industrial relations into those of the white man till a black man gets a mortgage on a white man's house that he can foreclose at will. You see what I'm saying? Till a black man gets a mortgage on a white man's house that he can... Like, again, white people do not want you having power over them. So you're a little bit confused if you think that's what is going to happen. He says, the white man on whose house the mortgage rests will not try to prevent that Negro from voting when he goes to the polls. You see, just leave the country. Like, if you're really trying to, again, just leave the country. Just leave like, if you are trying to be a successful black person who has this kind of authority, just leave the country. Because you could do this in Africa, honestly. They're okay with that. Like I said, people are okay with me hiring them and firing them. They're okay with that as a foreigner. The white man's not going to be okay with you as a foreigner hiring and firing them. And you might be like, I'm not a foreigner, blah, blah, blah. Yes, you are. Okay, you are a foreigner. And because you're a foreigner, no, he does not want you, like basically with power over him. You know what I mean? That's the whole reason why you have Trump. Well, not the whole reason, but part of the reason why you have Trump is because it was like, yeah, why is this N-word here? So it is through the dairy farm, the truck garden, the trades, and the commercial life largely the Negro is to find his way into the enjoyments of all his rights. Whether he will or not, a white man respects a Negro who owns a 2-story brick house. What if, and again, you don't have to worry about whether the white man's going to respect you. It's a fucking good feeling. Now, granted, I don't have a 2-story. What the fuck happened? Granted, I don't have a 2-story brick house, so I can't say shit. I guess technically, anyway. But, but like, yeah, I don't have a, here in Africa, but it is what it is. So what is the permanent value of the Tuskegee system of training to the South in a broader sense? And actually, you know what? People in Tanzania, when they see my house, they're like, they're smiling, they're grinning. They're like, yo, you own, like, how many of these houses do you own? Like, they think I own like half the block. And I'm like, nah. I just got, But it's like, yeah, man, you gotta do your shit correctly, man. People are grinning from ear to ear to see you, see you shining, low key. So try to shine. I don't know if I'm cutting it in and out though. I can't tell. But all right. Let's see. So what is the permanent value of the Tuskegee system of training to the South in a broader sense? In connection with this, it is well to bear in mind that slavery taught the white man that labor with the hands was something fit for the Negro only, and something for the white man to come into contact with just as little as possible. It is true that there was a large class of poor white people who labored with the hands, but they did it because they were not able to secure Negroes to work for them. And these poor whites were constantly trying to imitate the slave-holding class in escaping labor, and they too regarded it as anything but elevating. Again, everybody wants to escape labor. Like I tell my woman, go do that restaurant shit, but do it in such a way that you don't have to fucking work. You just get the money. The Negro in turn looked down upon the poor white with a certain contempt because they had to work. The Negro, it is to be borne in mind, worked under constant protest because he felt that his labor was being unjustly required, and he spent almost as much effort in planning how to escape work as in learning how to work. Labor with him was a badge of degradation. The white man was held up before him as the highest type of civilization, but the Negro noted that the highest type of civilization himself did not labor. Hence he argued that the less work he did, the more nearly he would be like a white man. Then, in addition to these influences, the slave system discouraged labor-saving machinery. To use labor-saving machinery, intelligence was required, and intelligence and slavery were not on friendly terms. Hence the Negro always associated labor with toil, drudgery, something to be escaped. When the Negro first became free, His idea of education was that it was something that would soon put him in the same position as regards work that his recent master had occupied. Out of these conditions grew the Southern habit of putting off till tomorrow and the day after duty that should be done promptly today. The leaky house was not repaired while the sun shone, for then the rain did not come through. While the rain was falling, no one cared to expose himself to stop the leak. The plow, on the same principle, was left where the last furrow was run to rot and rust in the field during the winter. There was no need to repair the wooden chimney that was exposed to the fire because water could be thrown on it when it was on fire. There was no need to trouble about the payment of a debt today, for it could just as well be paid next week or next year. Besides these conditions, the whole South at the close of the war, without proper food, clothing, and shelter, was in need of a habit of thrift and economy, and of something laid up for a rainy day. So again, you want to have savings, right? But like he's saying, like a lot of black folk were not like they're just like whatever, fuck it, like fuck life, you know, and that's okay. That's okay, but it's not okay. You know what I mean? RBG says, Black Power, I just found you. RBG, red, black, and green. Shout out to RBG. Appreciate you for finding me. I was hiding. But thanks. Thanks for finding me. I got to run again, I guess, right? I'll just mess it. Appreciate you, bro. All right, so to me, it seemed perfectly plain that there was a condition of things that could not be met by the ordinary process of education. At Tuskegee, we became convinced that the thing to do was to make a careful, systematic study of the conditions and needs of the South, especially, did I read this already? No. Especially the Black Belt, and to bend our efforts in the direction of meeting these needs. Whether we were following a well-beaten track or were hewing out a new path to meet conditions probably without a parallel in the world, after 14 years of experience and observation, what is the result? Okay, let me see if I can. What is the result? He says, I'm just trying to check the chat again. He says, let's see, what is the result? Gradually but surely we find that all through the South the disposition to look upon labor as a disgrace is on the wane, and the parents who themselves sought to escape work are so anxious to give their children training in intelligent labor that every institution which gives training in the handicrafts is crowded, and many, among them Tuskegee, had to refuse admission to hundreds of applicants. The influence of the Tuskegee system is shown again by the fact that almost every little school at the remotest crossroads is anxious to be known as an industrial school, or as some of the colored people call it, an industrious school. Why does he keep mocking them? Anyway, the social lines that were once sharply drawn between those who labored with the hand and those who did not are disappearing. Those who formerly sought to escape labor, now when they see that brains and skill rob labor of the toil and drudgery once associated with it, instead of trying to avoid it, are willing to pay to be taught how to engage in it, the South is beginning to see labor raised up, dignified and beautified, and in the seas its salvation. In proportion as the love of labor grows, the large idle class which have long been one of the curses of the South disappears. As its members become absorbed in occupations, they have less time to attend to everybody else's business and more time for their own. So again, you know, some of the people who are like, so RBG says a black man from Denver. Shout out to you, black man. But yeah, so a lot of people who are like, hey, go to trade schools. Like a large part of this is shaped not just by the economy, not just by the fact that trade schools do pay good money, but also, you know, just culturally, in a sense, if you want to say. Because again, I think everything is kind of economical. So I think, you know, they do follow the economic conditions, you know, materialism, if you will. I might sound a little Marxist for that, but you know, it is what it is. But a part of it too, you know, like Booker T is pointing out, it's kind of cultural. You know, you're associating labor with, you know, like drudgery and toil, and you have this negative connotation with labor, and it's like, no, shift that shit. You know, and of course, you know, a part of the reason why you can shift it is because you can economically profit from working, and also, you know, not necessarily toil while you're working. But let's just keep going. So the South is still an undeveloped and unsettled country, and for the next half century and more, the greater part of the energy of the masses will be needed to develop its material opportunities. Any force that brings the rank and file of the people to a greater love of industry is therefore especially valuable. This result industrial education is surely bringing about. It stimulates production and increases trade between the races, and in this new and engrossing relation, both forget the past. The white man respects the vote of the colored man who does $10,000 worth of business, and the more business the colored man has, the more careful he is how he votes. Okay? Now again, yeah, he's like, the more valuable you are, the more you'll value your vote. Okay? The more valuable you are, the more you'll value your vote. But of course, he says the white man respects you if you are worth a lot of money. And it's like, it's true. I mean, again, like I said, people are grinning ear to ear because they're like, hey, look, this guy owns shit. This guy is doing what he got to do. Put it that way. So anyway, immediately after the war, there was a large class of Southern people who feared that the opening of the free schools to the freedmen and the poor whites, the education of the head alone. Immediately after the war, there was a large class of Southern people who feared that the opening of the free schools to the freedmen and the poor whites, education of the head alone, would result merely in increasing the class who sought to escape labor. And again, this is a typical European thought. I cannot find the quote, but there's a quote from like old Europe. I used to study like European history. I had to do it for high school. It was like AP European history. I think it was the only AP class I could have taken, honestly, because they were like mad discriminatory. But anyway, so but what I'm saying is that there was a quote, and I can't find it, but this European said, hey man, the reason why they didn't want to educate black people, the reason why they didn't want to educate white people, like the peasants, was because when peasants got education, they didn't want to do labor anymore. They didn't want to do hard labor anymore. Like, not hard labor, but like work with their hands anymore. And so it's like so they didn't want to have public education for that reason. And actually, a big thing that America does is that it I don't know if it introduces public education, but there are a lot of public education innovators in America, at least in terms of Western history. But anyway, so it's like, yeah. So you see, he says even the poor whites, they were like, oh, we don't want them to, because they want to escape labor. And the South would soon be overrun by the idle and vicious. Like, a lot of people will be idle. But as a result of the industrial combined with academic, and like even what I just said, I'm like, I'm not going to clean up my own fucking pipe, because it has fecal matter, and I'm educated on, blah, 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 right? But of course, I should clean up my own damn pipe. But anyway, but as a result of industrial combined with academic training, begin to show themselves in hundreds of communities that have been lifted up through the medium of Tuskegee system, these former prejudices against education are being removed. Many of those who are a few years ago opposed to general education are now among its warmest advocates. So again, I'm almost finished. So the industrial training emphasizing as it does the idea of economic production. I'm going to see if this link still works, honestly. I'm going to copy it first on another thing, but because this is just in case it's like some damn weird ass link. I'm going to copy it somewhere else just to see if it still works. But so the industrial training emphasizing as it does the idea of economic production is gradually bringing the South to the point where it is feeding itself. Before the war and long after it, the South made what little profit was received from the cotton crop and sent its earnings out of the South to purchase food supplies, meat, bread, canned vegetables, and the like. But the improved methods of agriculture are fast changing this habit. With the newer methods of labor, which teaches promptness and system, and emphasizing the worth of the beautiful, the moral value of the well-painted house, and the fence with every paling and nail in its place, we are bringing to bear upon the South an influence that is making it a new country in industry, education, and religion. Okay, so the link still works. Sometimes, I'm telling you guys, sometimes these links stop working, so it becomes very valuable. I'll show you guys what it looks like. It becomes very valuable to, save this link, like save these links, or save the text in your own way instead of just saving the links, because some of these links die. Now, granted, you could go to like archives.org and pull it up on yourself, but you don't have to do that. So anyway, I appreciate everybody for coming through. I see there's 7 people, but 2 people spoke. RBG, I have good brother from Denver, apparently. So shout out to you. If you have any questions or anything you want to say before we dip, you can. But usually I just dip after I finish my presentation. Bit of Medicine's here. Shout out to Bit of Medicine. By the way, RBG, you should check out Bit of Medicine's podcast. So I would suggest you subscribe to that podcast it depends on Eastern time. On Eastern time, he has his program at 8 p.m., from 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. Good show. You can listen to the last podcast. I was there. My brother Black Steel was there. Buana was there. Brother Kari was there. Kofi was there. And of course, Koku from Bitter Master Podcast. So we were all there. So, check it out because you could join the panel and just speak, speak what you want to speak. So other than that, that's pretty much the whole podcast. Appreciate to everybody who stopped by. And I guess I have nothing else to say. If there's no comments, then Shamim Hotep, I guess. Oh, no, guys, check out the look at the link and listen to that song. Listen to that music. You see that Twitter link up there? Listen to those songs that Sexy Red does. She has no bars. Like, she has no bars. And I want you guys to pick up on that because, again, I probably couldn't make it too far as a rapper, personally, but I got some bars. You know what I mean? Like, I got better bars than her. I'll put it that way. Right? And it's kind of like, what the fuck? But it is what it is. Other than that, I guess I'll say that. Shem Hotep, Uncle Jah Seneb Neb, Amen.